garden. Be in nature. I trust you're well. I certainly am. So today, it's September at the time of videoing this. At the time of recording this, we're in September, and the weather has been tremendous in recent days. We've had an up and down last few weeks actually, but in recent times it's been, in fact I think for 2023 we've just experienced the hottest day ever recorded. There you go. So I am in my garden, as you can see, and what I'm going to do is replant up some of my window boxes. That's the task I'm going to be doing today. But before I start, I must say welcome to the channel. If you've never been here before, thank you for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy it and can see value in this video, that you will be able to share and like, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you if you are a subscriber. I do appreciate that. So I'll start off there. The thumbs up really will help to sort of get this channel out. It's a family-friendly channel. Usually no bad language. There might be once in a while, but for the most part it's family-friendly. So it's going to be safe for you, all of your family, to watch this channel. I'm out in the garden, and that means that others are as well. So you might from time to time hear lawnmowers going. We have neighbours who've got chickens. You might hear those in the background. It's part of nature. It's all part of life. So we live and we let live. So you might hear building work going on. It's what it is. But today, my task is to sort out these window boxes. That's what I'm going to show you today. So here, actually, in my home, we do have some window ledges, and periodically I make different displays on the window boxes. I have several successions, if that makes sense. So I often do one for spring, one for summer, one for autumn perhaps. But for this lot here, I have multiples of these boxes, which means once I've taken them off the, listen to those beautiful birds. Once I've taken them off the windowsills, I replace it with another one, and then these are the spares that I leave in the garden. And as you can see from here, they have been untouched for a while, these particular ones. And the soil in here is, when I say dry, it's as dry as dust. As dry as dust. I want to say, though, that my intention today really is just to find some plants from around the garden that I can use to put into these window boxes. I have no intention of purchasing anything new. Listen to the songs of the birds. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, I just have to stop and appreciate that every now and again. Anyway, let me get on with my task. So my intention is to clean these up a little bit, because I've just left them at the back of the garden. And as you saw, the soil is really very dried out. I'm just going to wash these down gently. Top up the dried soil with some new compost. I might get some compost from my composting area, but I have got some store-bought compost as well, just for transparency, because I want to be sure that what I put in here, I don't want to introduce any slugs or anything in here for the window boxes anyway. So I'm going to wash these down, top them up with some fresh compost, and then find some plants around my garden which could benefit from just being potted on into here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give this a quick wash first. They're a little tarnished in colour, but they're perfectly fine. These are stones, they're very heavy. I might have to paint this one day, but for today I'm going to leave it as is for now. Okay, so I'm just going to get these cleaned up somewhat. I have many sets of these. This one's stone. Several of them are stone. This one's actually like a resin, so it's a lot lighter. Okay, so I've washed out the containers as much as I'm going to for today. What I'm going to do next then is add in some compost, just to sort of bulk out the area, because this last compost has dried out completely. It's very dusty. Okay, so I should imagine any compost should do. Potting compost, you know, generic general compost will do. I have some here, which I'm just going to add. I already have some old spent soil. I'm not planting anything that needs nutrients particularly. I already have in mind what I'll be planting these up with, and it's very likely going to be some comfrey. Why? Because I have comfrey in surplus in the garden. It grows readily, freely. It's a beautiful plant, a lovely flower and plant. It has medicinal purposes as well, but that's not my intention of planting them here. It is simply to have some fresh window boxes. So as I said, my purpose for planting out these window boxes is simply to have something to change the current boxes with. It's beautiful seeing houses and homes and balconies with window boxes, but I also have to be quite honest, they can get quite costly to replace. So this is my method of simply keeping costs down. That will go into the compost somewhere. Keeping costs down, still having the beauty of the boxes. So what I'm going to do is keep topping up, fill these up with some new compost, mix it around. That's what you're going to see me doing now. This is for a bay window, so the larger box in the centre and the two smaller ones at the side. I'm going to be using mostly comfrey plant, as I said, because I have it in surplus in the garden, and it will grow, fill out, and I'm not having to buy that plant. I can simply dig some out from around the garden and put them into these window boxes. Okay, so that's the first one. And of course, everybody will have their different tips and ideas and suggestions on how to do window boxes, and everybody should do it the way they best feel. Absolutely, absolutely, I totally agree with that. This is simply what I do, and I'm simply showing you what it is I'm doing. So by no means am I giving advice on what you should do in your window boxes or in your gardens. I'm sharing my journey, my story, what it is that brings me joy being in my garden, the happiness it brings, the health benefits it brings, and the joy, the absolute joy. So this was really old dusty soil. I'll put some of that in here because this one is apparently empty for some reason. So I'm going to mix some of the old with the new. A bit of old, and then we'll put some new. Hello birds, I hear you. Probably looking out for worms. There are none in this box. There might be some where I was digging earlier. So I'm just loosening this up to allow the plants to extend their root system, so it's not totally solid soil. I know in America and in some parts of the world they call this stuff dirt. I call it soil, compost, earth, because to me dirt usually has no purpose anymore. It's stuff you sweep up, hoover up and get rid of. So my preference is to call this soil, compost, earth, growing medium, black gold. Without it, there's no food. So, for the richness of it. What do you call this in the areas where you are? Do you call it soil? Do you call it dirt? But it amazes me how it does vary in colour from country to country sometimes, continent to continent. But its purpose is to sustain plants and life, really. So just give that a good mix. I'll do the next one and I'll come back to you. And we'll start digging the plants to fill in these boxes. Okay, so here is a closer view of the Bergenia. It has some slug, snail damage, but that's not horrendous at all. The leaves are glossy to the feel. They are an evergreen plant. You see them growing sometimes hedgerows and things because they don't need too much attention at all. They do in the summertime bring up some stems with some different colour bell flowers, all different kinds, you know, sort of the pinks. I don't know if I've seen them in the yellow, sort of the shades of yellow, but I've certainly seen them in the pink colours, possibly white as well. And so I obviously had the intention of planting these when I purchased them at some point this year, or maybe last year in the sale, I can't remember. But they'll be perfect to add into my window box along with the comfrey. You can see from this plant a great way to keep expenses down as well is to see if you can divide plants. So some plants can be divided. I have no idea if I can with this one, but I'm certainly going to give it a go. You can see where there are different growth patterns happening in here. And I'm going to see if I can just gently tease that apart and create more plants. What you want to try and do is see if you can retain root system on however many divisions you make. This one doesn't have huge roots, but there we go. There's a tiny root still in that area there, so I feel comfortable that that will make a new plant, and I'm actually going to do a few more divisions here as well. I'm sort of splitting it. There we go. And then it just means I've got a multiple of plants now that I can plant up. Bergenias. I try to put plants that are the tallest in the centre of any plant pot that I'm doing or decoration. And the comfrey leaves, you'll see in a moment, are actually bigger in size than this. So I'd like this to be closer to the front of the planting pot. I want to see if I can divide this one as well. Just split it down the centre. Good tug, but I think the root system will still survive this. And again, I'll do that one in a moment. Okay. Last one here. You can sometimes feel just by putting your thumb down into the plant whether it feels as if it's going to give. That one actually feels quite tough there. But here perhaps, just by running your thumbs into the plant, there's a little bit of give. It's quite a forgiving plant. So I can get 3 pieces out of here. There we go, there's one there. There's another. So that's a great way of trying to make plants go even further and keeping the costs down. Okay, so it's looking sparse, but now what I'm going to do is dig up some comfrey. And when I do, well, let's just dig it up first and then we'll see what we do later. There's a crop that's coming up quite easily. Okay. Here's a clump. The root system and the leaves above. And each of these runners, the roots, each of these will become another individual plant. So comfrey, to many, is a nuisance plant, but it's actually for that reason I want to put this in the window box to just give me some, just the leaves throughout the year, and then the flowers in the spring. So each of these tiny pieces will actually become a full plant. So here we go. Just popping them in. Going to water them well. I might prune back some of the roots on here, or I can put that into the soil horizontally, bury that under the soil horizontally. It will give me lots of new plants. And comfrey, as I said, can get carried away. It can grow substantially. So perhaps putting them in a window box where it can be retained and controlled could be a good idea. I'm going to pop all these inside. So you can see actually from here, this would have been the original roots for this plant, but then it puts off these shoots. You see that? This would have been the original root, and then it puts off these shoots that then gives you lots and lots of leaves, and eventually the flowers. So I'm going to make sure the roots are definitely burrowed in under the soil, and I'm going to top this up anyway with some more soil, get rid of some of the old ground. Yep, it's already looking good. I will top that up with some more soil. So it's just going to be a simple window box. It hasn't cost me anything besides a bag of compost that I purchased way earlier on in the year. Well, of course it has cost me something because I did buy the Bergenias earlier on, but it's been cost effective. It's not very expensive, relatively I should say, but it's just going to have a box of greenery, and I think that's just as beautiful as having different colour flowers on a window box. So I'm just going to carry on doing this, and I'll bring you in to show you how it looks at the finish. Another good thing about the comfrey is that they make very little contact almost with the soil, and then they just keep throwing out new shoots and more new shoots. So I'm going to carry on digging some of these out, plant them in my new box, water it in very well. In fact, on these window boxes where the weather has been so hot, I have many of them, as I said, and these particular ones I did not put drainage holes in them, so I can monitor how much water goes in there. Often I find, especially with the window boxes that are high up on the house, maybe the second or third floor, you know, drainage can be a problem. Obviously when you water them, the water will run down the windows and run down the house. So with the higher up window boxes, I actually did not put any drainage holes. Some of the window boxes that I purchased that had drainage holes, I filled them in by using silicone. So that's number one, I don't have to water them too frequently. I'm not worried about the rainwater because actually where they are located, the angle at which they are on the window, the rain for the most part is never too much. It's never too much. So they still have to be hand watered, and it just makes watering a lot easier because they don't have to be watered so frequently, and it doesn't spill to the lower levels as well. So that's a little tip. Maybe you've done that before, maybe you can let me know. But I do find sometimes watering the window boxes can be not a tedious task, but by not putting drainage holes, it means that I don't have to water it so frequently. Alternatively, again, a box with no drainage holes, what I've done in the past is put down a lot of gravel at the bottom, so that if it is a plant that needs very little watering, then the roots are not sat in the water. I put some drainage before I put in the plants. But hopefully these will take nicely. And we'll actually also hang over the box a little bit. They don't look like much now, but once they start filling out and once they're placed in situ, you'll be able to see the transformation. And it barely looks as if it's been touched. Right, let's pop this in here. The last bits. We've got some new evergreen flower boxes. Okay, so just to finish off, I am eating an apple off my apple tree, but you're wondering about the window boxes. I have to just taste this for you first. I kid you not. I kid you not. This is splendid. Listen to the crunch. The juice and the flavour in this apple, organic, grown, home, just plucked from the apple tree, straight into my mouth. It really is amazing. But I digress a little bit because I was meant to be telling you about these the window boxes. This is just amazing, this apple. This is just amazing. All the apples in our garden are the best tasting apples we have ever tasted. But anyway, back to those window boxes. I've finished in the window boxes. I'm not going to put too much water in them. I have sprinkled them with a little bit of water, only because they get quite heavy and they're heavy to carry upstairs or on a ladder and put them into situations. So once they're in place, then I will water them thoroughly. But in the meantime, have a look at these window boxes whilst I crunch away on my apple. Oh my gosh, this apple is just the best. But here are the window boxes, all completed. I actually did another one whilst you were waiting for me. So I have 4 in total. We normally have 8 in total for the front of the house. So they look a little sparse, and I have to agree with you there. Maybe that's what you're thinking. But in no time, these plants will fill out, and I will certainly have to bring you back to show you what they look like. But I'm really pleased. This was a small project. It was well overdue. Window boxes. They have now got, some of them a mixture of Bergenias and comfrey, free plants from the garden for the most part. Inexpensive project. Will beautify the front of the house. And I got to eat an apple. So be in the garden, be in nature, of course. So be in the garden, be in nature, of course. I will see you in the next video. The juiciest, sweetest, beautiful, just incredible apple If you haven't planted your apple trees yet, autumn time is a great time to do that. Perhaps I'll bring you on a video on one of those. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, please share. Please share. Well, share the apple. Not the apple, this is mine. See you in my next video. Thank you. Bye.